Namaskar and good morning to all of you who have signed in from all across India for this National Learning Week's first webinar. As all of you are aware, the Karmayogi Saptah was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister on 19th on this Saturday, and we have had an amazing response from people from across the country, and we're really fortunate that we're able to begin this first webinar today, which is now been whole day has been recognized as a day for Indian knowledge systems, which is the basis on which our Karmayogi competency framework has also been created. For this first session, the first webinar in the series of webinars that you're going to have throughout the week, we have Dr. David Frawley, who's also popularly known as Pandit in the world. Now, the American Institute of Vedic Studies, which is a platform or a vehicle for his work, offers online access to many of his published writings and books that are very popular. He's also been conferred by the Government of India the Padma Bhushan in 2015 for his service to the nation and for the Indic wisdom that he's promoting across the world. He also has a D.Litt in Yoga and Vedic Sciences from S. Vyasa, apart from the several contributions to the building body of knowledge in this field. So I welcome you, Pandit Vamdev Shastriji, for this exciting opportunity to educate us across the nation who are joining this webinar. And you'll be sharing your knowledge with all of us on how do we strive for excellence the Karmayoga way. As you're aware, the mission Karmayogi, the mission conceived and rolled out by the Honorable Prime Minister from 2021, aims to build the capacities of the state and its functionaries to help India reach, work through this Amrit Kal and make a Vikasit Bharat happen by 2047. I now hand it over to you and for you to enrich all of us with your knowledge and wisdom.
Namaskar. It is my great honor and privilege to be with you. I am very happy that you have invited me to this nationally significant event for Bharat, but also significant for the entire world, because today we need a better view of governance, service, diplomacy, and administration. And I'm very happy to see that you are leading the way. And we're also very happy to note that Prime Minister Modi ji has always been so insightful and visionary, looking to the future as well as organizing the present. So that kind of view and vision we don't find so much in leaders today, which is national and international, and which is covering all aspects of governance. So Dr. R. Subramaniam, it is great to be with you. Capacity Building Commission, certainly we need greater capacities, and Mission Karmayogi. I can't claim to be a great Karmayogi. I can't claim to be a great administrator. My work has been mainly in the educational field, and my work has been also promoting the Indic and Vedic knowledge systems and the values that they are based upon, because I believe, and I think a deep scrutiny will teach, that these are universal values, not just simply the values of one country or a group of people, but something that honors consciousness, dharma, prosperity, oneness as belonging to all living beings, and the goal of all life. So I have developed this topic, Karma Yoga as the pursuit of excellence, and I want to put that into a certain perspective. Often we look at Karma Yoga as service, which it certainly is. Sometimes there's a tendency to look at it as service in a more a menial or less important manner than acting directly. That is incorrect. We are all sevaks, and we are all performing some sort of karma yoga. The question is, what are we in service to? How are we fulfilling our service? And are we doing so in a way that is raising ourselves and helping other people? We can be service to any kind of cause, to money, to desire, to outer things. But karma yoga is an inner service to the higher potential, the well-being of all living beings. So in that, we are asked to do our best for the benefit of all. Certainly, why don't we do that? Because if we're acting or we're performing in a less than full manner, then we aren't helping ourselves and we aren't helping others. And I must say that Prime Minister Modi ji is, I think, the only leader in the world who is calling himself Pradhan Sevak, or a servant. You know, we have in this world the political power and the prestige and all of that which goes with it. But we are all servants, and government should be serving not only people, but serving the values. And also, in the case of India, it's not just a political nation in the modern sense. India is a great civilization of thousands of years, a great culture on many levels. And here we also talk about the Indic knowledge systems, or we could also say the dharmic traditions that have come out of India, Bharat, and have had such a positive influence on the world as a whole. And we know even today, whether it's yoga, Vedanta, Buddhism, Ayurveda, Sikhs, Jains, etc., this Indic wisdom has gone worldwide. And it's important that it's honored in India or Bharat itself. And this takes me back to what the Upanishads say about knowledge. Two types of knowledge. There is the outer knowledge of name, form, and number, nama rupa, in which we learn how to function in the outer world, all the practical necessities, dealing with life, the pursuit of science, all these things. But there is also a deeper inner or higher knowledge, that knowledge through which the eternal is known, through which the inner being is known, through which we gain a higher happiness and awareness, the sadhana of yoga. So that is what we would say is a qualitative value. You can't quantify it. It's not limited by name, form, number, time, place, person. It is at the heart of all beings, and it is a universal value. So this promoting of universal values is also very important today, and it's something that the world needs. All leaders, everyone in the world, we should be sevaks for all life, for the ecology, for nature, for the earth, for the welfare, the happiness of all beings and all humanity. But we also have our political, commercial, and other interests. They have their place to some degree. And we have a division in society in which we are seeking the power of one group over another. There are groups, United Nations, others challenging that, but we still have very far to go. So the mission Karmayogi is really something that should go to the world as a whole. All leaders should be sevaks, and we need to recognize these universal values or dharmas. I remember some discussions with Swami Dayananda of Arshavidya, who Modi also has known and respected, a great Vedantic guru. And he said, dharmas are universal truth principles, ahimsa. You do not want to be hurt, No living being wants to be hurt. So honoring the laws of life, we don't hurt anyone. It's not a commandment. It's not a law. It's understanding the nature of things. So karma yoga is also what we could say is dharmic action. And the question that arises as what is dharmic action is very similar. It is the pursuit of excellence, but is also doing what is best possible in any given circumstance. This is very important because life is full of dualities and complexities and conflicts. There is often no ideal thing that we can do that will please everyone or solve all problems. We have to start working at a practical level and do what is possible. And that means inaction or non-doing is often not something good to do, because then we don't change negative courses of action. We allow them to go on. So action is important. And of course, karma yoga is one of the main paths of yoga. Generally, there are 3 prime paths given, which are jnana yoga, yoga of knowledge, self-knowledge, self-realization, understanding of universal consciousness, the self-aware universe, as many physicists like to say today. Bhakti yoga, not simply as devotion, but love, regard, and caring for all. All life is sacred. All living beings have their consciousness and their feelings. The earth is a living being. And in that regard, Indic knowledge systems teach us to recognize the life and consciousness and dharma everywhere. Ecology is a certain form of dharma. And so to act in such a way for the benefit as a whole. So you do the best possible in any given circumstance, but for, of course, the good of all. And then, of course, we need special skills. We all have our karma. We all have our dharma. We all have the things that we are good at, whether through our karma or through our training. And we have the things we need to learn more, or where we have to look to some other expert or expertise in order to guide us. And now, of course, running a country, a government, India is 1/6 of humanity. It has more people than Europe and North America put together. And yet it is the world's largest democracy, but it's the world's oldest civilization, where Vedic chants are still being done after thousands of years. And even you have something like the Gayatri mantra, which is a calling for us to seek our inspiration from the highest light, which is also a pursuit of excellence and an improvement of our capacities and trying to do better. And of course, we have various branches of government. You have the executive government, which gives prestige, but that is also a very responsible form of service. We also have legal realms that should be a service to the truth, and again, helping of all. And we have so many administrative capacities going on, including many new things that we have to learn with the new technology. And here, it is also very important that we use the technology for the good of all, and that we develop the technology as a human resource, because it has been the nature of human beings. Of course, we all human beings have our egos as well. And unfortunately, any new technology tends to be weaponized. We've seen that with airplanes. We've seen that with so many things. So it's important that we also guide the new technology, and that new technology is also very helpful in communication, translation, organization, data, information, correlating different occupations, needs of humanity, different levels and aspects of humanity. But we must remember that it is to serve our inner being and our creative potentials, not simply to make us subordinate to our equipment, however helpful or important that is. There is also today a great responsibility for the media, because media has now more power of expression, but it also needs to have greater integrity and recognition of dharmic values. That should also be a form of Karma Yoga. And education, the field I have been working in, that also should be a form of Karma Yoga. In some ways, it's the highest service, because you're trying to serve the learning capacity and inspire others to learn. And that's very important, particularly with the youth today, because we need human role models. We just cannot simply follow cell phones or computers or media. So there's tremendous responsibility we have with Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga is never simply something one person does. We should have our individual Swadharma and Karma Yoga, but it's something that we do by working together, by associations, groups, and organizations, and different skill sets, and different levels of working with society. Because as human beings, we are social creatures. It takes us decades to be educated. We have to be raised by a family. We live in a country. We have a certain culture. Nature is around us. As we say, that the universe is one family. So bringing that in, those values, is also important. And then we need to understand, in the India context, Indian independence movement was also considered to be a movement of Karma Yoga and a pursuit of dharma for the country, the people, but also for the entire world. India, Bharat, has a unique and powerful civilization that is carrying on science of consciousness as yoga, great natural healing systems like the Ayurveda, and a way of life where we recognize that there's one self in all beings, as Upanishads and even Vedas say, Purusha Vedam Sarvam. The Purusha, the human being, is the cosmic human being. All of the universe is within us, and we have responsibilities not just to other people, but also to the planet, to living beings, to our ancestor, and to our future. Now, there are also some considerations of Karma Yoga that we have to bring into play here and understand better. What is Karma Yoga? Now, in this context, we often see that karma is defined as ritual, and some people tend to look down upon that as some meaningless ceremony. What I would say is Karma Yoga is action done with attention, self-awareness, dedication, higher values, and higher goals. You know, most of the time when we're acting and doing things, our mind is somewhere else, thinking about something else, wanting something else. If you're not giving full attention to what you're doing, it's not only not Karma Yoga, it's also not likely to succeed. Now, the human mind, as we know, has many habitual responses. It's conditioned. We get into a routine. We have a certain formula or method that has a certain place, but Karma Yoga also means creative action and creative thinking, not simply repetition. What do we stand for? What are our higher values? How can we raise ourselves and raise the earth and improve our standards? In fact, unfortunately, we must say that in a lot of the world, the standards are not high. And this idea of pursuit of excellence is sometimes forgotten. Some skills, like art, require tremendous attention. And now it's easier to do something on a computer than to make something with the sculpture or with the hands. And Karma Yoga means communicating and working together with other people who share these similar goals. It cannot work as an isolated action of one person or one group or another. And as we work together, we also realize and recognize our commonalities, our common aspirations, our common needs, maybe our common limitations, but learning to work together is very important. And we have to realize that each human being has special capacities that they may not have developed because they were not recognized or given the attention or the inspiration involved. And in that capacity, education is very important. And here, this is also a principle of the Indic knowledge systems. It is not just a question of learning skills or information. It's also a question of training the mind and training the power of education. And that begins with the power of attention. That begins with your own memory of knowing, not just simply what's on your computer or on your cell phone, however important that may be. So today we also need a new Karma Yoga in education, because whatever you give your attention to, you're bringing into your mind, and you're allowing to teach, design, or even program your awareness. And that's why in the Indic knowledge system, it's never been just a matter of telling people this is right, this is wrong, this is the truth, that is not. These issues are, of course, addressed. It is a matter of training you to be aware, to be detached, discerning, to inquire, to question everything, but also to question your own self, and to recognize that the silent, meditative, receptive mind is the best instrument of higher knowledge. There are many great instruments of outer knowledge, telescopes, microscopes, all these. Now we have all these new forms of equipment going on, and they have their place. But we also need to create a higher consciousness in human beings and a greater capacity of communication, association, and working together for higher values and higher goals that transcend any one group, country, time, place, or person. And this is what the Indic knowledge systems give us. In fact, we live in a world now where there's a lot of people coming from the United States, I can say that. There's a certain sense of entitlement, that people owe us something, or that we should be taken care of, or that we should have special principles. This is something of human nature for a long time. But it's very simple. You know, the Vedic value is one of service. It's one of yajna, which is not simply sacrifice, but of giving. If we are all in a mode of giving, there is abundance for all. If we are in a mode of taking, then we're all going to be fighting and struggling for more and more for ourselves. And this is where the Indic knowledge systems teach us to respect nature. Nature is a living being. We don't have a right simply to exploit nature, to take what we want, and to let the rest go. And here I want to draw a little correspondence or comparison with the United States. United States is based upon a declaration that says we honor life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These are like universal values. But in the Indian knowledge system, it's also a honoring of immortal life and honoring the sacred nature of all life, and also honoring different peoples. There are many cultures, many civilizations in the world, and that we should honor and pursue. Liberty is usually defined politically, socially, which is very important. But in the Indic knowledge systems, there is the pursuit of moksha, liberation as freedom from desire, freedom from want, freedom from anger, freedom from negative emotions, the gaining of the inner freedom of awareness, creativity, association, and connection. And then we have this idea of the pursuit of happiness. The problem is that whatever you pursue tends to run away from you. What the Indic knowledge systems teach is that happiness is your nature. Ananda dwells within us. It's not a question of pursuing happiness, but sharing happiness, discovering happiness. There's happiness, ananda, throughout nature. And here there's also the pursuit of peace. The world needs peace. We've always needed peace. But what is peace? In the Indic knowledge system, Shanti is not a human peace accord. It is not a treaty or a truce between wars. It is the universal principle. Vedas speak of the peace, the Shanti from the mountains, the rivers, from all of nature, from the plants, the trees. Peace is there. We need to embrace peace and embody peace, and also to discover the peace within us, not just simply to look at things with that outer vision. So a new educational model is also needed today. Today, we also need diplomacy. There seems to be less diplomacy in the world today than at any point. Certainly back in the Cold War era, there was more diplomacy than there is today. Diplomacy is also about communication. It's not simply about name calling or judgments. There are, of course, the good and the bad that we have to look at, but we have to have a common humanity, a common human vision, and awaken our global and planetary aspirations as well. We live in a time of crisis today, where there's a lot of division in societies all over the world. Even democracies now find it hard to elect candidates that everyone will agree upon or accept. We're lacking in proper global communication. We have that to some degree, but we also need a global sharing of culture, art, spirituality, higher values, honoring the earth. And we need, again, to develop a science that is not just about outer things, but also represents and asks us to look into our inner consciousness, our creative skills, our connections with the whole of life. And that is where India has developed a certain type of civilization and history. Why has India endured all these centuries? Why has it influenced the world? And here we have a great diaspora of Indians in the United States. The Indian community has been very successful financially, educationally, and also by way of aiding in the communities in which they are. Last year, I came to the opening of the Swaminarayan Akshardham North America in New Jersey, where you have a beautiful, wonderfully sculptured temple for the benefit of all, for all to see and to all to share. These are what the Indian community is also bringing. And Prime Minister Modi is also representing diplomacy for the world. He hugs, he makes friends, he talks to everybody. He's aiming at, along with the Indian civilization, to bring in more peace to the world, because you cannot have peace and harmony in the world if some aspect of humanity is left out. There has also been the bringing in of the global south that has been neglected. And there are also still, everybody wants to dominate and control at a certain political level, but we also have to introduce and bring in democracy at a global level where all the countries share and respect and honor each other, even with the various differences involved. So we could say that India, Bharat, is the Karmayogi among the nations, and is also recognizing that as a more important global and political value. Alliances are important, differences are going to be there. Humanity has so many differences, but we have tremendous resources. And our new technology we should be using to develop those resources. We have to develop certain other things, perhaps even more weapons to protect ourselves, but we must remember and recognize that greater sense of self, Atma, Paramatma, Purusha, such as the Indic knowledge systems recognize. The Buddhists talk about the interdependence of the whole of life. The Jains talk about that even an insect has feelings. It's not just something that belongs only to human beings. In fact, if we only think that human beings have feelings, then we have to say that human beings don't have feelings, because if we had them, we would recognize them. And we live in a wonderful planet, a beautiful universe, tremendous potentials, whether it's the flowers, the waters, the mountains. There is a universal consciousness. There are rhythms of time. Native traditional people from throughout the world have recognized the importance of the sacred. So these things also have to be brought into consideration. So I'm very happy to be part of this Karmayogi initiative in whatever limited way that I have, but it's certainly very important. It comes along with the recognition of dharma. It comes along with the new India and the resurgence of India at a civilizational level for the benefit of all. Indic teachings have come all throughout Asia. Even Europe in the Renaissance was looking at some Indic teachings. Even the 19th century Europe was looking at Upanishads. We had Vivekananda coming to the West teaching people meditation, which hardly anyone was looking at that particular time, and not seeking to dominate the world, but seeking to inspire us to a higher level. So I'm very happy to see this inspirational program beginning and going on. And I welcome any questions you may have. And I want to again thank the organizer and of course the Prime Minister. I would like to see Karmayogi initiatives all over the world. and Karma Yoga as part of our lives. We have a sense of duty in many countries, but we also need that deeper inspiration and universal sense of oneness that we have in the Dharmic traditions and the greater sense of Karma Yoga. So with these words, I will finish my particular talk, but I look forward to greater dialogue and communication with all of you. I've learned so much. If I have anything to say of any value to anyone, it is because I have tried to study all these Vedic, Dharmic, Yogic, Hindu, Buddhist, etc. teachings for now over 50 years. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Shastriji. It was wonderful the way you connected something as abstract and you brought it down to a level where people can use it. It's part of a kind of a toolkit approach where we not only strive to do our duties, but how do we strive for excellence and look at Karma Yoga not just as a solution for our nation, but possibly for the whole world. So I'm going to look at the first question by the time our team gets the time to aggregate all the questions to start asking you. You spoke about, in one of the questions that's come up is, well, it looks very nice to hear all this. The practicality of operating in a real world, in the Vyavaharic world that we see here around us, where human resource is always seen to perform only when their work is incentivized, and incentive is always seen from the external. You get more money, you get more promotions, you get more visibility, you're declared best employee of the month, etc. How do you really inspire oneself on an everyday basis when you're operating in this ecosystem? So I thought that was a very interesting question. So I thought I'll myself ask you that, and then others would possibly come together with their questions.
Well, it is a very important question. We do live in a practical world. We do have our personal needs, our family needs. In America now, it's getting very difficult for people to have enough money even to buy their own home. So, but then we have to look deeper. Obviously, we'll look at least up to the level of our family, but we also should recognize that you as an individual cannot prosper without your family. Your family cannot prosper without your community. Your community cannot prosper without your country. And we should give incentives. We should honor people for the good work that they do. We should also develop that level of performance in ourselves to the extent that we can do it. And we should also bring that out in children. Of course, you win the race. That is very important. You get the recognition that should be honored. But it is not just a feeling good for how much money you make. I mean, we do need to make decent incomes, but you also feel good by the recognition and respect that you get for others and for the prosperity of your community or even your country, and also for your planet. You have a wonderful garden. You go on retreats and pilgrimage and all of that. You have your temples, your places of worship that you honor. And we have to all recognize and expand our sense of who we are and how we connect with all. And certainly there are many incentives. I hate to say there's much corruption still in the world that needs to be addressed, but we have to start somewhere, and we can do that generationally. We can do that by jobs. If the people administering the government can do it, then I think that could also be a great inspiration for everyone else.
Thank you so much for that. Now I'll ask my colleague Sanya to start asking the question that's come up either on the YouTube or on the Google Meet link that we had shared. Just to let the audience know, today is the beginning of a wonderful day. We've got 3 webinars on Indian knowledge systems. We also have 1 webinar on technology that Nandan Nilekani and Shankar Maravada would be leading. So we have a very exciting day, a great beginning of a series of webinars that's going to happen around this week. And again, I would like to thank all the government officials for signing in, joining us, and helping spread the message of the Festival of Learning that we've all embarked on. Sanya, it's up to you now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balu. Thank you, Professor David Trolley, for your insightful inputs on a very important topic. And we have some questions from the audience also. So, Ankita Singh has asked, are not basic ethical principles of knowledge systems all over the world broadly same? How is Indic knowledge system different from them?
Yes, there is the idea, of course, of universal ethics, which are more or less shared throughout the world. In terms of knowledge, there are different levels and types of knowledge. You know, whatever knowledge system you have has its pramanas or its means of knowledge. And basically, take even modern science. Modern science is based upon, of course, perception, but that is based upon a sensory model, which is in turn expanded through various types of equipment, wonderful forms of equipment, of the very large, the very small. We have an idea of a universe that is many billions of light years old and other factors involved. But these systems of knowledge are still, as I would say, quantitative. There is also a qualitative reality. For example, can you measure art quantitatively and say, put a, you know, run some equipment over it and say, this is a great piece of art because it does all these certain things as our equipment says. And we are making great advances in technology, which is important, but we also have to improve our character and our knowledge. We can't have the same old egos with more ego drives with greater power of social control. We need ethical values, and these always imply some degree of self-control and control of the mind. So we also have to educate our children. Now, this is where the Indic knowledge systems can help quite a lot. I work with yoga and Ayurveda. And there's certain principles of learning that we recognize. And one is we tend to emulate that we give our most attention to. If we give our most attention to a two-dimensional small screen, our mind may tend to move in that direction. If we look out into the vastness of nature, our mind can gain the space and the concentration for a deeper level of learning. So besides the outer science of quantity, we need an inner science of consciousness, awareness, and as we say, unity consciousness, unity with life and nature. If you go out in nature, you look at the sky, you look down at the earth, or you sit beneath a tree, a certain type of knowledge also comes to you because there's a natural wisdom there. So we also need to honor our traditions of contemplation, meditation, mysticism, living in nature. Art needs to be restored, not just simply as something commercial. And here, I want to say this is something I really appreciate about India. India is a country is growing and developing economically, technology, in terms of the infrastructure, but also in terms of foreign policy, trade, but it's also undergoing a very important cultural and civilizational revival. I visited Europe, and you see they have a great culture, but they seem to be abandoning it or letting go of it. And now our culture is more defined by our technology, and we seem to be more worried about our virtual image than more so than who we are or what we are actually doing. And also India is saving a lot of these natural traditions, for example, natural healing traditions for the world, not just it's bringing communication at that level. So we have to have a broader sense of knowledge, and the technology is a very important part of that. It must be developed, but it must be developed with a higher knowledge. I sometimes tell people, it's great to have technocrats, but we also need new rishis and great yogis too. And to master technology, we also need a deeper self-awareness, higher ethical principles. Even to function as a global democracy, we have to respect different individuals, different cultures, different ways of life. And we have to have an understanding that we need that cultural unfolding and diversity, and we need a depth. It's not just a question of measuring the universe, but of communing and being one with the universe. The yogis teach us that there's also a cosmic mind, and the yogi can, and we're not just simply connecting to the internet at a global level, they can connect to the universal consciousness as also a source of knowledge. We need to consider that wisdom as well. And I'm glad these processes are also going on, but we also need more of that globally. And that's where India traditionally has been the guru of the world in terms of bringing out these deeper pursuit of consciousness, but there's certainly much learning that we all need to do. If we on the planet work together to help everyone, we could do so much more than we do struggling and fighting with each other.
Thank you, Professor. I think it is a very important aspect that you've highlighted about consciousness and knowing in the qualitative aspects of knowledge. You also talked about development, and that brings us to the next question that has been raised by Adil Zainul Bhai himself, who's the chairman of Capacity Building Commission. He's asked that India has laid out Viksit Bharat as an aspiration for India. How does that tie to the Indic knowledge systems?
Well, let's look at the Indic knowledge systems. And if you look at the Indic knowledge systems and even the traditions, Lakshmi has always been honored. It's even said that without Lakshmi, you can't have Vishnu. There was, if you look at the great art, the traditions of India, there was always a pursuit of abundance. We see India's trade, whether it was with textiles or the poor Roman Empire imported so much gold from India, it had a hard time on its getting free of its debts. India has brought food of different types to the world, starting with something like cotton, now even perhaps silk, a lot of the gems from the world, of course, medicines and spices. So it had a model of abundance. It never had this sense that poverty is the way to spirituality. And it also has honored art. It's never had a split between art or between, might say, the sacred and the profane. All aspects of art, look at the music, the dance, the poetry, the drama, the sculpture, all the representational arts, and local forms of arts and crafts have also been there, along with the pursuit of mathematics, astronomy. Now, of course, India did suffer some loss of culture, knowledge, education under foreign rule. I don't think you can simply blame India for that and say India simply became a backward country. India was largely a progressive country until a couple of centuries ago. And even Europe and the rest of the world, some of these countries were not really prosperous until they had colonial rule over different countries. Even the British said that the India was the crown or the jewel in the British Empire. So that needs to be done. We need to pursue abundance and prosperity and beauty, but also for the good of all as something to share. And as part of local communities, look at all the festivals that you have, that you're undergoing and doing now that are sharing also many cultural forms, art forms, music, dance, chanting, all the representational forms and so forth. So that is also a sign that is there. And it's a good thing for the world. All the world has certain amount of celebrations and art and beauty, but we need more of that. It doesn't need to be excluded. And we need a pursuit of more meaningful, lasting art, not just something that's very entertaining for the weekend.
Perfect. That's very helpful. One more important aspect, I think we have a demographic dividend coming up for India, and it's important that the youth also engage with the Indian knowledge systems. So we want to understand that how do we engage the youth with the Indian knowledge systems and also learn and imbibe it?
That's a very important question. I cannot claim to speak for the youth today. I do have my interaction with the youth. There are certain educational factors we need to bear in mind. One, we always have to keep children out in nature, close to nature, doing physical activity, doing art activity. I don't mean that you don't need the technology. They need to learn the technology, but at the same time, they need to preserve those natural and living aspects. One of the concepts that you have in the Indic knowledge systems is prana, that there is a universal life energy that we need to connect to. And we need to draw a deeper prana and awareness into our life and education. It's very interesting to note that with all of our new technology and equipment, we are watching more events, but actually our sensory acuity is going down. Why? Because we're looking at limited boxes, two-dimensional factors. Go out in nature and you'll see so many different things, different shades, colors, nuances, depths. We need to develop that aspect of learning as well to inspire the children. And the children need to be taught things, power of attention, meditation, all of that. I have one statement I make sometimes that we will let people into our minds we'd never let into our homes, and we'll let people influence our children that we would not let into our homes. We have to have responsibility in education and raising, and we need good role models. We do have good role models, but in India too, you have the gurus and all of that, but they need to be accessed, and that whole association matter. Human beings are built by association. Who do we relate to? Our community, the concept of course, satsanga, the concept of higher forms of learning. And we need to engage with the children. They need to engage with each other. We need new educational models in which physical skills, artistic skills, mental skills, technological skills are also used together. And we need to recognize that your virtual reality is not who you are. It's an important thing to have. And that our happiness again lies in helping others, not just simply in getting things for ourselves, and in improving our community, our family, our country. Raising ourselves individually is very important, but not making it so that we are excluding or we are trying to take power over others. We are trying or willing to inspire. And that is the role of the new teachers, the new gurus that we also need. Again, various professions are necessary, but also these higher professions, yogis, gurus, etc. We need to honor their place in society, the elders, those who are passing down knowledge and cultures from generations. Traditional peoples also have these knowledge. There are Native Americans here. They know much more about the plants and the geology and the nature here than any scientists do, because they live in that on a daily basis, and that is part of their language. So much can be done, and we need to have that Karma Yoga as also a means of inspiration.
Thank you. I think, in the interest of time, I'll just take up the last question now. Somebody asked that in the pursuit of excellence and also in the need for learning skills, sometimes we give more weightage to learning skills than pursuing excellence. So, how do we maintain that balance, and how do we ensure that we're not just learning skills or competencies, as we call them, but also pursue excellence in everything that we do?
Yes, that's very important, because even take something like, you can learn a language, but being able to write poetry is a pursuit of excellence, not just simply a skill set in a certain language. So it's very important there's this sense of doing things well, with beauty, with design, with pursuit of a higher goal, with a vision of helping others and improving the society and the world overall. And it's great to have a number of skills, but our skills shouldn't be simply mechanical. There are also skills in communication. Again, all the arts fall into that. And teaching how to learn. And for the teachers, also again, becoming inspirations or role models, and not just there to agitate or to disturb. I mean, there are certain activisms that are certainly needed, but the youth also need to be inspired to some. And here's a very important point. We need to have some sense of transcendence that we are aiming at. And that is being lost throughout the world. Even in America, unfortunately, that sense of transcendence is being lost. We have certain mundane things that we want. But do we have a goal that is transcendent, not just simply a belief, but a way of connecting to the greater universe and a vision for the future? The future of humanity. We also have wisdom that's endured time from the past, but we need a better vision of our future, planetary, global, communication, peace, and happiness. And there we have a lot of that can be gained from the Indic knowledge systems, from concepts like Karmayoga. You have many groups throughout the world that are trying to pursue some form of idealism or uplifting people. But I think this vision of a universal self, universal oneness, the earth as one family, that is something that India is offering, and that is something that the world needs to look into. It cannot be just self versus other, and we're going to make the world a better place for everyone. That inclusiveness is necessary, a diversity that is creative. So much can be done, and I'm happy to be part of this discussion. And these Indic knowledge systems, this whole pursuit of yoga and Ayurveda, etc., has been a great help for me. We've tried to share that with others. We've found and taught people from all over the world, whether it's Brazil, Russia, Germany, Mexico, Canada, so many countries. There's everywhere. There's a small group, at least, but even moving up in the society where they want something dharmic, something peaceful, some sense of higher consciousness, and even science. I live near the Los Alamos lab. There is also, the scientists are now looking at consciousness and looking at a broader, higher awareness. So again, needing that new Rishi vision, but of course we may have to define Rishis in another way. But I'm glad you're doing this. This itself is a great initiative forward, and I'm sure it will bear its fruits karmically and on many levels, and bring in a dharmic use of technology as well as the other aspects of life, so we can all go forward on all aspects that we're pursuing for the benefit of all today. Hari Om.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vedacharya Shastriji. It was a wonderful, as always, a very insightful contribution, and helping all of us appreciate how we could practicalize it, how India has an obligation, a responsibility to fulfill, not just for our citizens, for the whole world as such. I think it's a great beginning for this webinar series that you have helped us start off. I would like to again remind all our viewers and watchers and all our wonderful civil servants who have joined us across the country that we have an exciting, not just today, but the rest of the next few days with webinars from different domains. So please spread the message, talk to your colleagues, sign into these webinars. You can do it to the iGot platform. You can do it to the YouTube platform, to the Google Meet links that iGot will be sending to all of you. So I think it's part of this learning we are all engaged in. We'll constantly seek to make ourselves better and continue this journey from Karmacharis to Karmayogis. I once again thank all the viewers who have joined and Dr. David Frawley for his contributions to what he does all through in his institute. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Hari Om. Namaste.